Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Alan McCalderman regular council meeting for today, Tuesday, May 2nd. I'll start off the meeting by calling to order at 12:40. Sorry about the delay. We had some technical stuff we had to work on. Next, we'll do a territorial acknowledgement. Before our meeting gets underway, I would like to formally recognize the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors of the Alderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Alan McCalderman is located on the Mississaugan-Ashanindick territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan-Ashanindick. The township of Alan McCalderman respectively acknowledges that the Mississaugan Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and the integrity for generations to come. Next, we're going to have a moment of silence to recognize our fallen soldiers and citizens. Thank you. Next is item 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Deputy Mayor Stover.
Through you, Mayor Logo, I'll be declaring a pecuniary interest. It has to do with agenda item 17.1. This is in keeping with the closed meeting, and the reason being litigation with the library board. Mayor Logo, at that time, I will leave the meeting when that item is being discussed.
Thank you. Any other, Mike?
Yeah, through Mayor Logo. Yes, for myself too, is item 8. As per the Integrity Commissioner's report on Rusk Creek Road and Hogan Road closures. I'll step back at that one.
Okay, thank you. You don't have to leave.
I'll just step, yeah.
But you can stay in the room, but you just can't participate. Okay, thank you. So those will be duly noted by the clerk. Next, we're going to move on to item 5, which is the approval of the agenda as circulated. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular council session of Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 be approved as circulated. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we're going to move on to a presentation. And we're pleased to have this with us this afternoon. Our Chief and Inspector, Jeff Martin, who's the Detachment Commander of Northumberland County. And he's going to, first of all, introduce your team for us, please, Jeff. And then he's going to talk a little bit about the OPP Municipal Policing 2023 Annual Billing Statement. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
up to the mic.
yeah. It's just that mayor stuff. We're United States. It's policing, they almost police is expensive, so. So today I would say surround yourself by people who are smarter than you. So the pros and excellence certainly to learn how this is doing. And I'm Sean, financial gains.
Thank you. Thank you. as you're setting up, I had the pleasure to see this presentation at the Police Services Board meeting about 6 weeks ago. And Jeff presented it, and I thought it was so good that I asked that he do that for our council as well. And Lisa, I think you were involved in that meeting, although you weren't there, you zoomed it in for us, and it was very
Yes.
interesting. So
Thank you. We're very happy to be here today. And again, my name is Sergeant Lisa Rotar, and with me is our financial analyst, Michelle Athridge, who's part of our financial support unit. And as you met, Detachment Commander Inspector Martin and his admin sergeant, staff sergeant, Davidson. So today, so I'm just gonna get this slide show up. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It has the. I just need to have the share option so they can see my screen. Thank you again. So again, very happy to be here today, and this is an overview of what we'll speak about. The OPP service delivery, annual expenditures, the billing model, municipal policing costs, and the Community Safety Policing Act, or CSPA. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask as we go along, or you can save it for the end if that works for you as well. So before we actually discuss the billing, it's just important to touch on how the OPP actually provides service to the province of Ontario. We serve over 14 million people spanning across 1.1 million kilometers square of land and waterways and 330 municipalities on a cost recovery basis. So detachments operate on an integrated service delivery model, and this allows for flexibility, blending and sharing of resources to provide policing services to contract and non-contract municipalities, in addition to meeting our provincial policing responsibilities. Officers will often work in multiple locations and municipalities during a shift, which allows again for coordinated policing strategies and allows our communities to engage with and partner with various agencies outside of your municipal boundaries. With the implementation of our GPS technology, our dispatchers know the location of all logged on units, which ensures a more efficient response by utilizing officers that are geographically closer to a high priority call for service. And the OPP track our services provided using the daily activity reporting, or the DAR system. And this ensures our municipalities don't pay for provincial responsibilities or obligations. So this provides a breakdown of cost allocation for all the services the OPP provide, both at the municipal and provincial level. And these figures are based on the estimated cost for 2020, 2021, being our 2022-23 hasn't been released yet. And again, this pie chart, we will use the 2023 numbers further down that presentation. But for this purpose, it just shows again how our money is allocated and what services we provide. So on the provincial or the specialized responsibility section, that's 64%, which makes up our mandated provincial responsibilities, which include areas like our traffic safety, investigations, intelligence, and specialized response teams. Under the municipal policing resources section, these are the costs for municipal policing that are recovered from municipalities, which include our frontline detachment staff and support positions that are required to meet our service demands. So this means the OPP, we need to recover $412 million to provide back to the provincial government. So again, what does this mean? On the provincial responsibility side, again, or 64% of the total $1.2 billion budget, or $778 million, it's accounted for by the provincial government. So these services are provided to all municipalities at a no-cost recovery direct from the municipalities. So again, these include your traffic safety, investigations, intelligence, specialized response teams like your TRU, ERT, search and rescue, auxiliary unit, community safety, Indigenous policing, and our unincorporated territories. So again, provincial responsibility, which means these are these resources are provided to the OPP police municipalities at a no cost recovery. Now, the 34% or $412 million is the estimated total cost recovery for providing municipal policing services to all municipalities that we police. These resources include detachment staff, frontline supervision, constable civilian support, as well as support positions to our communication operators, prisoner guards, academy, and regional headquarters. So we recover $412 million through our OPP billing model. So this diagram shows the development of our model with deep roots and engagement sessions and consultations with ministries, agencies, associations, and our municipalities. On the left of the slide, each of those lines represent a municipality and how much they were paying in 2014 prior to the model, dollars being the scale from top to bottom. And you can see the gap or the disparity has been addressed through the implementation of our model. And again, to address transparency, reports and annual billing statements are customized to show each municipality's specific information as related to their calls for service and billing. Annually, we do hold webinars when statements are distributed, and we'll do presentations to provide explanation of the requested municipalities, just as we're here today. So, and billing information is posted on opp.ca for public access. So this shows the 2023 estimated cost recovery under the OPP billing model. Diagram shows the breakdown for how $417 million will be recovered from municipalities. Cost recovery is broken down to three categories: for base services, calls for service, and other costs. Base services are allocated on a per property basis, being $165.66 for a total cost recovery of $199 million. Currently, the OPP police 330 municipalities, 1,202,724 properties. Property counts are updated annually based on impact data and include household, commercial, and industrial properties. So again, the calculation for the base service cost is $165.66 per property times the total number of properties, which comes out to $199 million. Calls for service and other costs are both based on individual municipalities' usage level. The 2023 calls for service total cost recovery based on all the municipalities the OPP provides policing services to is $178 million. Our other costs for 2023 are estimated at $40 million, and each municipality is billed based on contract agreements and usage. So for example, your overtime, court security, prisoner transportation, accommodation cleaning, and enhancements as applicable. We're going to look more at this on page 3 of your billing statement that shows the calculation for each of these three costs, which were done annually. By chance, did any of you have a chance to look over your 2023 annual billing statement? Okay, wonderful. I'm just going to turn it over to my colleague, Michelle. Financial Bureau.
Hello, everybody. I know we're tight for time, but I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this slide, because this is the meat and potatoes of the cost recovery. This is how we calculate your base and calls for service recovery. It's based heavily on averages. So the number of positions required to provide municipal services in detachments is the second column over there. And that's based on a 4-year average of FTE levels in detachments. What's highlighted in orange is our base calls for service split. So Lisa mentioned the DAR activity system, and we do a statistical analysis of that to determine how much of an officer time is spent doing reactive calls for service and how much is spent performing base level services. And for 2023, the percentage for base level services was determined to be 50.5%. You can see that 100% of the supervisory salaries are attributed to base level services, and the rest of the activity is broken down between base services and calls for service. So we take the total salaries, benefits, and other direct operating expenses that you can see highlighted at the bottom in green. Oh, sorry, that's just the other direct operating expenses. Right below that, the 377 million is the total cost recovery for base and calls for service. We apply the base service percentages to that to come up with 199 million, and we divide that by the total OPP police municipalities to come up with that $165 that Lisa was referring to. The remaining portion of the cost recovery is allocated to calls for service, which we distribute based on actual activity happening within the municipalities. So that you can think of that 178 million as a big piece of pie, and whatever portion of the activity your municipality is responsible for, that's the portion of the pie that you get. So this is just another sort of summary of what Lisa was talking about, the two major components that we just talked about, base services and calls for service, which are more reactive. An officer is usually required to attend those. And then the other costs that are allocated based on usage. Accommodation and cleaning is applicable in your case, as well as overtime costs and prisoner transportation, which is allocated across the province, again, on a per property basis, based on the total prisoner transportation costs divided by total properties. This slide is really just to show you the stability of the new policing model. Slide earlier showed you the disparity in cost beforehand. So this is right from 2015 to 2023. You can see that although the cost of salaries has gone up, the price per property has remained relatively stable throughout the life of the model. Check for time. I'm going to scooch through some of these. We will spend a little time here. This is how your calls for service are broken down. So all calls for service are categorized into one of 9 billing work groups. We look at the activity again in the DAR system to see how much time is spent. And again, it's based on a 4-year average of activity. And you can see just to the right of the 4-year average of counts is the average standard time for each billing work group. And then we look at 4 years of actual call activity and take an average of that and multiply it by that average time standard to determine a weighted time that is spent on each category of calls for service. And then if you draw your attention to the bottom, the 178 million that we calculated on a previous page, we just apply the percentage of that total time. Oh, sorry. The bottom of the total weighted time is the total weighted time for the entire province, the 1.79. We take the weighted time for the municipality, which in this case is 3,754 hours, and what percentage of those hours of the 1.7 million hours are applicable to the municipality, in this case, 0.2097. We applied that 2097 to the 178 million, and that's what calculates your costs. So by looking at this, you can see, based on the total weighted hours, which areas are contributing highest to your total weighted time. In this case, it's the operational work group, 1,562 hours. Sorry. Oh, okay.
Can you explain a little bit Operation 1 versus Operation 2?
So what we did was we pulled out operational 2 is like 911 calls. I
Okay,
think there's some alarm calls, so they take a little less officer time. So rather than bundling them into the category where there's a little bit higher, what is it, 3.8 hours? We gave them their own category just
okay,
to be more fair.
thank you.
I think too with that, what sometimes gets people a little confused is the call for service for we call it the UCR violation code, or whatever the offenses that the officer or the investigation take may not necessarily match with what you're thinking. So for example, like you'll see under operational, it's like missing persons call, which you might think maybe that should be under statute. But it has to go how much time is actually dedicated to completing that investigation or that occurrence. That includes your court time, your report time, the average.
And included in every billing as statement package is a details page. So you can see the 4-year history of each call type that went into the billing statement. We're getting tight on time here, but this is just a history of the municipal policing costs for the township. And you can see that going back to 2015, it's been relatively stable. And this one just provides a comparison to other municipalities that are policed out of the Northumberland detachment. And then finally we'll end here. So this is the first page of your billing statement. So you can see all the The pieces that come together here, the top is your base service. There's your total property count for the township. The cost per property, $165.66, just simple math there. Your calls for service, we touched on it was 0.2097% of total provincial hours. So that works out to 374,000 of the $178 million. And then overtime is calculated based on actual hours of service provided to the township. Prisoner transportation, $1.17 per property. Accommodation and cleaning services is again a per property cost. For your total estimated cost. And the last thing on your billing statement is a year-end adjustment. So that $9,373 is the difference between what the estimated costs were for 2021 and then what the reconciled costs were for 2021. And generally, those are due to changes in overtime to what we were able to estimate because we're using historical activity to estimate overtime. If you have contract enhancements, sometimes that contributes to the adjustment as well. And then that provides you with your grand total estimated policing costs for 2023, which are divided by 12 and invoiced on a monthly basis.
Okay, can I ask, just so I am sure I understand, every time a resident or someone from the township calls and asks for service, we're gonna pay about $103?
That is, that's a per property cost you're seeing there. So
Well,
that's the total cost of the calls for service just divided by the total properties.
Okay,
And that's just the 2023 estimate. So that number will change on an annual basis. So when you call, if it's deemed, if the call requires police attendance and it's quoted as available calls for service, that count will roll into a 4-year average of calls,
okay,
which will then be applied to an average time standard. So there's no direct cost per call.
thank you.
They'll fall into one of those 9 billing categories.
Yes,
And then go in at 8. So
okay. Well, Deputy Mayor has a question for you.
Through you, Mayor Lobo. Good afternoon, ladies. I just look at this, I remember when I was on council before, we always used to look to see how much we're getting back. Because we paid so much, but we didn't use what we were charged. Is that how you work now?
If we estimated higher than what the actual costs were, absolutely that year-end adjustment would be a credit.
And so for 2022, did we have an adjustment?
We have not reconciled 2022 yet. That's what we're
Oh.
actually working on right now back at the office.
But for 2021, was there a,
So each of your billing statements were always 1 year behind.
okay,
Because when you get, so for example, this is your 2023 estimated costs with your 2021 reconciled costs. So in October of this year, you're going to receive the 2024 estimated costs with the reconciled 2022. costs.
oh, okay, so
So
we'll
we're
get,
always that 1 year.
we're just wondering if it's a little extra continuing laying around that we haven't allocated to something.
Well, it's, yeah, you know, things fluctuate as you know, with operations, with COVID, with a lot of municipalities saw different things happening and it's just dependent on what's happening in the community, but it'll be captured. So if you are paying more, it will be reimbursed or vice versa. If it was underestimated, you will still have to
Be
make
up
up the
to-
difference.
We'll hope that we're over, not under. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Booth.
Through you, your worship. Thank you, ladies. This is very detailed, so I really love this. I just have a question for you. So if the town requests OPP assistance for the Canada Day Parade, what bracket does that fit into? Is it overtime? Would it be considered overtime because it's not really a,
It would fall under, so anything that's above and beyond adequate and effective policing, there are different avenues to pursue. There could be a paid duty situation where again, the detachment commander has the opportunity to canvass his officers to attend. Speak further. Okay. Yeah, there's just different, everybody is a little different, so I like to have the,
We still, candidate for his support, spoke directly with Mayor Newman as well. Haiti is one of the systems. Other municipalities for a certain event, I think it's what you're saying in Portland, where they're asking for a little more police service. We need we need headway. That's what we need a heads up as far as when it's coming, because with overtime officers or paid duty, those are officers in rest days. We can't order or make your people come in like any other company on rest days, so they're basically volunteering for that service. When we talk about a parade shutting down every two, that those are dedicated officers that need to be on those posts, right? That's why I always suggest volunteers, volunteer fire department, roads, departments as well. You know, be somebody dressed like you to use across the road because we are expensive. So if you do want officers for something like that, they can leave that post and they may have to go out emergencies around it. And so I spoke to a police services board meeting before. I'll never guarantee that officers can stay in it just because of other issues. We'd love to be able to stay good. We need some grades, but we simply can't. So that's probably the those other options, other staff members in the municipality or paid or.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Go ahead.
To you, Mayor Logo, this might be for Inspector Martin. I'm just wondering, I'm hearing that all the police services are hiring. And I just wonder if you have the amount for Northumberland County that you're looking to increase your detachments by.
Commissioner, Mr. Mayor. So there's a couple things going on there. Recruiting Canada-wide is very challenging right now for all the big fire services, for even small municipal services. OPP is certainly touched by that as well. So our recruiting, we have an entire recruiting bureau, which is a convention level. They're trying new pathways to reach out. We just don't have as many people interested in the profession as we used to for a few different reasons. Another piece of that is something called the service delivery model. About 2.5, 3 years ago, OPP was developed with analysts and all sorts of experts within the BP to develop a new formula or service delivery model with the writing out of police officers and main support staff of each detachment. We had one that was about 35, 40 years ago, so obviously the population growth and other different factors that impact workload, we needed to inform. So every detachment, back as April of 2022, their detachment commander received that number of what within that working group, the specialists that they assigned of how many extra, or in some cases, in the detachments did lose on paper anybody a couple of times. Northumberland, because of our number of factors, being 401, all of the policing as well, waterways, trails. The number that was indicated was 28 officers on top of what our complement is currently. And Commissioner Fareed, he speaks about this quite often because we're talking about staffing on the OPP, visibility of the community, so it's very topical. About 2.5, 3 years ago, around the same time, the provincial government OPP came out publicly and we advised that there were 1,200 officers short provincially. That's a huge number, and that's not a number that we can catch up to overnight. The recruiting issue is helping that. So just to keep up with retirees is challenging. So as a result of that SDN, the province committed to those 1,000 extra officers, but we know that's going to take 5 to 7 years to get those new officers involved in that complement in police groups long term. So as of right now, we are not understaffed. We're at 0 vacancies within detachment. Speak to our police service boards and provide staff an update every month as far as new recruits coming in, and we've been very active in the last 3 years as far as new members, either experienced officers or recruits coming in. So for we are out at right now. I mentioned that SDN though, because that is the formula for all detachments. So that's something that we'll be working on years to come. I should say 28. That's not police officer. Those are civilian support staff involved. Say around 7, 8. That number is civilian support staff.
So you have 28 or 28 plus your support staff as officers in Northumberland County.
No,
Or-
28 is the new model. they
Oh, okay.
devised. 28, you need 28 additional lines. for
Oh,
our
okay.
Staff, we have over 100 right now.
Okay.
Attach it, keep it going forward, right, and they came over sites that makes up, so between uniform officers, civil support staff, and so as well.
Thank you.
I want to, Lisa, Michelle, I want to thank you very much for your trip from Aurelia. It was very explained very well. And I know Nicole, our treasurer, was watching your presentation as well. So she may be contacting you if she has any questions as well. So thank you. And Jeff, thank you very much for coming. And Mike, thank you as well. Everybody's may not know, but Jeff is retiring in 5 weeks. So I'm sure that if you're looking for a job, they could probably, you can probably pick up some part-time work or whatever. Anyways, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'll just get these guys through as well, so the new product.
Well, thank you. You have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, Pat, I think we have someone else on the line. Miss Atwood. Okay. I'll introduce that then. Oh, do we need a mover and a seconder for that report? Can I get a mover and a seconder from the OPP presentation? Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next, we're going on to item 6.2, a presentation by Janice Atwood and Jeffrey A. Abrams, Principal Integrity, regarding a recommendation report, conflict of interest, complaint investigation. Ms. Atwood, are you on the screen?
I am. I'm here. I don't know if you can see or hear me. I can see and hear
I can
you.
see you and hear you too. Thank you very much. So would you like to go ahead?
I will. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Council, for making the time for me to appear before you today. And thank you for allowing me to appear virtually. My partner, Jeff Abrams, is not available today, so I'll be doing this meeting with you myself. So Principals Integrity is your integrity commissioner, and I am one of the two principals of that firm. I wanted to say first that when the member of council about whom we're bringing a report is at council, they may participate. They do have technically a conflict under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, but they may still participate in the discussion, although they may not vote on a matter if there's a sanction. And so in this instance, Councillor Ainsworth may certainly participate despite the fact that the report is about him. That's simply an extension of procedural fairness. He may not vote on the report. So having said that, we received the complaint at the end of February alleging that Councillor Ainsworth had participated in a matter where he was in breach of the code of conduct. It was alleged that he had a conflict of interest and that there was an apprehension of bias. And this was when he participated on February 2nd regarding the potential closure of an unopened road allowance, which might limit access by motorized vehicles. The issue of closing unopened road allowances, effectively transferring the space occupied by trails within them to private ownership, largely would preclude motorized vehicles such as ATVs from accessing them. We noted that in the report that council was provided by its staff on February 2nd, there was reference to having staff having spoken with a representative of the Northumberland District ATV Riders Club, and essentially formulating their recommendation in support of that that information that they'd obtained, or certainly being influenced by that information. So it's clear that the Northumberland District ATV Riders Club has a vested interest in maintaining the trail system available to its members. And we learned that the representative of that ATV club with whom staff consulted was in fact Councillor Ainsworth, who is the president and founder of that ATV Riders Club. So when the matter came before council on February 2nd, the allegation was that Councillor Ainsworth had a conflict of interest and that there was a reasonable apprehension of bias. We've set out in the report that the concept of bias is whether the member is completely incapable of being persuaded of a different point of view. This particular complaint brought the issue of bias into sharp relief. The test for bias is whether that there has been prejudgment to the extent that any representations to the contrary or in support of an alternative view would be seen as futile. And the onus of establishing bias rests with the person alleging it. In this particular set of circumstances, the Northumberland District ATV Riders Club, as we learned through Councillor Ainsworth, was founded by him in 2002, albeit long before he was elected to council. He is and remains the original president of the club. He remains in that role today. And he shared with us in the course of this investigation, and I would say he was extremely cooperative in the course of this investigation. He shared with us that he's proud of the fact that he has grown the club to about 1,000 members in the 21 years since he established it. Although there is no monetary gain for Councillor Ainsworth as president, albeit there is a waiver of the annual $150 fee for the president. We consider that a token pecuniary amount. We nevertheless found that his role certainly would raise that to a level of serious apprehension of bias. In other words, it's quite clear to us that he would not be perceived as able to impartially deal with issues where access to ATV vehicles is going to be restricted, where it's essentially been his life's work, at least over the last 21 years, to pursue the interest of that club. And he has done so. He's done so proudly, and he's done so obviously quite successfully. That certainly raises to us a serious apprehension of bias in terms of his ability to deal impartially with the issue of road closure, which clearly would preclude access. That said, whether we characterize it as a conflict of interest or as bias, we are satisfied that Councillor Ainsworth is unable impartially and in a detached, objective manner to give due consideration to the issue of road closures when they come before council, when it will so seriously impede ATV vehicles access. We find that as such, when the councillor participated on February 2nd, he did so while in conflict of interest. We would say, as required by the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, the councillor should be declaring an interest in recusing himself anytime the ATV club of which he is president has an interest in the matter before council, particularly when the issue of trail or road access is being considered. Particularly in the case of closing unopened road allowances, which will preclude access. Moreover, we would suggest that the counselor cannot serve as the representative to whom staff go for input and guidance on the matters when they are reviewing these. It's an unfortunate fact that the counselor is, one might say, steeped in the interests of the club and could provide a wonderful resource, but it's clear that his there would be the certainly the appearance that his intention in providing that information would be to influence in support of the club's interest. And so that is really an improper thing to be happening. So along the lines again of the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, where a member has an interest that they have had to declare and step away, they may also not be attempting to influence behind the scenes how the conversation might go, or how the report might come together, or how council might vote on it. So it really is a complete step away from situation. We hasten to add again that the councillor was extremely cooperative and did acknowledge that certainly this appearance or optic is quite a reasonable one, that the public would perceive that. So that was certainly our understanding, that the councillor certainly understood where this was coming from and understood where we were going with our findings. He committed to us that he would be recusing himself in future matters where these same circumstances arise, and would be stepping away from trying to have staff deal with him behind the scenes. Not that he has necessarily pursued that. I think perhaps quite innocently staff have reached out to him. Certainly that cannot be their source for information. Certainly there will be other sources for that information when staff need that. On the whole, we are recommending, as council may recall, we have the ability to recommend a sanction of up to a 90-day suspension of pay. That is not a suspension from the role of councillor, it's simply a suspension of pay. We are certainly not recommending anything in that ilk. On these facts, we do recommend a small suspension of pay, a 10-day suspension of pay, and nothing more than that. We certainly have appreciated the cooperation, as I say, the full cooperation of the councillor on these very difficult facts. But we do think that a small token of a sanction is appropriate under the circumstances, in particular because the matter was raised during the course of the council meeting. Others did raise it, and the councillor seemed to brush it off. And we think that the councillor ought to have perhaps paused and thought about it. In the end, the report was moved for referral in any case. So the matter was not decisively determined at council, but certainly Councillor Ainsworth's participation on February 2nd was improper. So having said that, it's those are my comments, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Janice. Does any member of the council have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor Lowell. Thank you, Janice, for the report, and thank you for the compliments also. And I do just want to reiterate that I was not trying to be a conflict of interest, although I after talking with you, I guess I was, but in the past, you know, we have settled, you know, many of these complaints with residents, and they've all turned out successful. And that was my intent, to be able to try to solve this complaint with this resident, and maybe, you know, instead of like, I mean, it's as we talked about, there's nobody in this room or in the county that's going to police that unassumed road, other than this ATV club and the enforcement that we use. And that, because we're out there all the time, and that was my intent, to try to get to that point. But anyways, that being past practice of what we've done for other residents, that's what I was trying to accomplish. But anyways, thank you for the report.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions? Councillor Booth?
Through you, your worship, maybe to Janice, or maybe this is to Pat or staff, so that we don't put Councillor Ainsworth in any kind of issues in the future. Are staff going to be then informed that they shouldn't be going to Councillor Ainsworth if it's got anything to do with getting an opinion from the ATV club?
You want to comment on that, Pat?
Yes, we made.
It's just then it wouldn't put him in the position of answering anything. So that would be, I guess it's almost all staff, because it could be public works or planning or fire chief or, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? I guess I have one, Janice. It's my understanding that we shouldn't be coaching other members of council, whether they should declare or not. And I guess what I've learned over the years, it's probably best to declare whether, if you think you are and could be in something, rather than not declare.
To the mayor, through the mayor, I have heard it said elsewhere, when in doubt, step out. I'm not advocating that members should always, I think one can overdo that. But I absolutely think when there's a question that comes up, it's probably, prudent to proceed with caution and declare if there's some possibility that there is a conflict of interest, or as in, which came into focus here, a bias. But the one thing I would say is it doesn't fall, the obligation doesn't fall to the other members of council or to staff, frankly, to be telling a member of council when they have a conflict of interest. But it's always helpful when a colleague can say, hey, I think you want to look at that. You might have. And that's how I understood the comments on February 2nd, when I watched the meeting that did occur, that there were a couple of comments, hey, Councillor, do you think you maybe should be looking at that? And so those kinds of things are helpful. Colleagues can help each other. It's kind of a little a poke in the ribs, or a little reminder, hey, you might want to take a look at that. I think you might have an issue there. It's not, the obligation never falls to the other members of council to identify it. But if they can, as a colleague pointed out, absolutely, there's no harm in that. And then, yes, sometimes it's an abundance of caution, I guess I would say, to step away.
Thank you. Any other further questions or comments? Okay, I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved that having been found to have breached the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act and the Code of Conduct for members of the Council of the Township of Allen Haldeman, the remuneration. It's got me tied. I'm not even going to say it because you guys are reading it anyways. Paid by the township to Council Ainsworth be suspended for a period of 10 days, commencing with his next pay period. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor O'Neill's moving it. Councillor Booth second. Nobody's requesting recorded vote or nothing. All in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you,
Thank
Council.
Mike, for being sitting here and listening to that. I think I have a lot of respect for you for sitting here and listening to that. And the comments that the Integrity Commissioner made too were very positive. I'm not surprised because I know you. So, okay, we're going to move on. Item 7 is the budget approval of the minutes, and these are the minutes from February 6, 2023. Be it resolved that the budget session minutes of February 2nd, 2023 be approved. Are you moving a seconder for that?
I would like to make a comment.
Yes,
Would you like to have them put on the floor first, or can I just make a comment?
I think we should actually have a mover and seconder first and then make a comment. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. You mind if she goes ahead?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just want to draw your attention to page 62. It has to do with section 5.17 of those minutes. And it has to do with the minutes in themselves. It does state, which is quite true, I did not declare pecuniary interest because there was no library board mentioned on that agenda. But on page 62, a small discussion did take place. And I did declare it, and I did hand in a notice to that to Madam Clerk. I just want to draw your attention to that because it was just something that happened that was not planned.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll note that, Todd. Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
I'd also just like to maybe get an update from staff when some of these things in the budget, like say the roof for the ACC, the Wicklow Church, the roof at the Fenella Hall, and the tank removal at the fire department. I just wonder if we have a.
Actually, I sent a message to the CAO this week asking for an update on all of the capital projects. And I expect we're going to see that on the next council meeting. And we'll be able to see where we
Okay.
sit from all of it.
Good.
That answers your question?
Yep, no, thanks.
Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Business arising from previous minutes and follow up from the regular council meeting of February 2nd, 2023 regarding Russ Creek and Hogan Road unopened road allowances. So can I get a mover and a seconder? I'll read the resolution first. The following resolution was adopted and at this time direction from council is required regarding the scheduling of a date or time to walk the trail. Be it resolved that the council of the township of Allen McCullough received the report of the clerk dated February 2nd regarding the Russ Creek and the Hogan Road unopened road allowances. And further that this matter be deferred until the spring, giving council time to walk the trails and review the ATV bylaw. And I think that Councillor Ainsworth has declared a conflict in this, so we don't expect you to participate. Could I get a mover and a seconder for this? Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. I think we should see if we could have some staff attend, and I'm willing to do it this week as long as I'm not sure if everybody has to go or they all want to go at once or what's a good time for everybody, but Mary Catherine?
Mayor Lobo, I did walk that on Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
There's a couple of trees down across the Russ Creek Road. I did not go walk the prison section. So, yeah, I found it very informative and I do think it would be beneficial to look at signage and everything.
Yeah, I think we should have a member of the Public Works attend. I'd like to have him when I go anyways. And I could do it this week if people are available. Greg, are you available?
I believe I'm available tomorrow afternoon. I'm not sure about everybody else.
I don't believe Brian's with us this afternoon, is he, Pat? Yeah, okay. And one of his foremen is laid up, understand too. So would you see if we can send up something for tomorrow? How long will it take, Mary Catherine?
Takes you long to drive there and walk, but as I mentioned, you're not even going to be able to walk if there's trees across the Russ Creek Road.
Well, we've got to be able to, go ahead, Greg.
Is it better, Pat, that we attend sort of separately, like if Brian's there and then that way there's not three counselors there all together and then officially it becomes a meeting discussing town business? So could we say, I don't know, from 11 till 12, and if it takes 10 minutes for each person to walk through it with them or whatever, then is that easier to do than?
We can schedule them, we can tell you what time to show up in. Present, and then. We'll be in the next time. Two at one time is fine.
Okay. So can you see if you can set up something for tomorrow or Thursday or whatever tomorrow? I might have to make some
Maybe just put
adjustments.
some times out and I
Yeah.
can work around it. I believe I'm free after 11 tomorrow morning.
Might be better for me right early than two, if possible. So if you could let us know, so I read the resolution. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
I do actually, I noticed that this bylaw is from 2009. And there have been some changes made to the Highway Traffic Act, and I believe there's some other governing legislation and changes as well. So, I'm just wondering, if the question through to our clerk, what happens to bylaws that, what's the review look like for that? So we could review the bylaw and take into consideration new legislation. I know the one amending bylaw, the reason why it was passed is to take into consideration changes to the legislation, so we can look at that and bring back a revised bylaw.
Thank you. Further questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we have the Public Works Department, section 9.1, report from Brian McMillan, Manager of Public Works, Parks and Recreation, dated May 2nd, 2023, regarding the Public Works Department update. And is somebody going to carry Pat? Hi, Susan.
Hello.
Are you going to answer any questions we have on this report?
If I
To the best of
can,
your
if
ability?
not, I will forward them on to Brian.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the report? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, to you, Mayor Logo. So Brian's got the open house slated for I didn't write the date down. What was it? June 3rd. And also the fire department has like their rewards banquet or barbecue there at the same time. Is that going to be conflicting?
My understanding is with the fire department was going to be late in the afternoon. And the public works was going to be in the morning, but maybe Pat, you want to comment?
Yes, I don't ask us to put it all on Monday,
Mm.
on the event. Right, they're afraid it's on.
2 weeks later.
Wanted to put it all on the same day.
And I don't think there's a conflict.
They're two separate times.
Okay. Okay. Any other
Yep.
questions or comments? Go ahead.
Just through you, your worship, to Susan. Susan, are they still doing the sweeping of the roads? That's
they
not
are.
complete. Okay,
Yes,
thank
they
you.
are.
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Logan. I just wanted Susan about the trail around the arena. All the trees that are down through there. Is that anywhere on a schedule to get cleaned up? Some are falling
That
into
one
the
I-
ball.
That one I can't answer for you. I'm not sure if it's been done or if it's, I know they've talked about it. I'm just not sure on the schedule on that, but I can certainly check.
Jennifer,
Okay.
do you have a comment? Thank you, Jennifer. Deputy Mayor?
Through your Mayor Local, I'm just wondering about the process for the purchasing of the speed data equipment and Black Cat. Susan, do you know if that has been purchased?
We have not purchased, but we've looked at a company, so we're just in the process of going through that.
And do you have a timeline when you think that would be done?
I think it's going to be done very shortly, but I can get a better time frame from Brian for you.
Thanks so much.
Any other questions or comments? I guess I have one, Susan, and it's regarding the communications from residents, and it was actually the compliments and complaint form.
Yes.
I think you've got from what I understood out of the report, you had about 37 new ones in the past since the last time it was looked at, which would have been roughly a month ago.
Yep.
And I think that's very, very good to know that you're getting those complaints or concerns and we're reacting as best we can. I would be interested though, if you could, if Brian could put on it somewhere that this is how many we've completed in the past, that same time period.
Yeah.
And outstanding ones that we're still to work on so that we can get a feel of how we're moving on them.
Sure.
Please and thank you. The
Yes.
second one, the second one I'd like you to check on with Brian is the roads needs study.
Yeah.
Whether that has been sent out for quotes or the projects have been started yet.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions or comments for Susan? I'll read the motion then. It was a little bit backwards, but I'll read the motion that be it resolved that the council of the township of Allen-McCalderman receive and file the Public Works Department update report from the manager of Public Works. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Are there any further comments? All in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Next, we're going on to, thank you, Susan. Next, we're going on to Parks and Recreation Department, and reporting today will be Jennifer Steen, Parks and Recreation and Culture Coordinator, dated May 2nd, 2023, regarding the Parks, Recreation and Culture update. Go ahead, Jennifer, whenever you're ready.
It should be how much? 50? 50.
The other to note, what the changes to the website that I added here, just, you know, the amount in that, I guess, the here, but to equate that hours, you're looking at anywhere from 60 to 35 hours per month on this. And that's based on the finder, and it's not that everyone is aware of the level of the website. But it's less right now.
Well-
Mayor Lobo, what page is that on, if you don't mind?
It's on page 5.
And if I understand you correctly, you're saying that you are spending about that much time on that? Okay. Well, I thank you for doing that. That's a very important part of the job of communicating and we need to keep it up. Go ahead.
Through your Mayor Lobo, just one thing, you're saying you're spending between 15 and 35 hours a month?
Yeah, so what I was able to back, like, that and the website, found change. Yeah, like usernames associated to it, so the number that you see there that I have to change for March. And those changes, can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what I am doing on the website, so some things are quicker than others, so I just want to be out there, or like, what is that range of, it could be anywhere between 6 to 35 hours per month.
I'd just like to, if I may, through your Mayor Local, zero in on that, because that is quite a range of hours. 15 to 35 a month. That's almost, if it's 35, that's your whole week. If it's 15, that's different. So I think moving forward, if there's some way you could zero in on that, because that is, that's quite substantial. And I'm wondering if, I know one thing we did talk about was our website. If our website is onerous in changing things, if it could be a little more easier to change things, that, and I just put it out there, I don't expect you to respond to that. So anyway, I think we should really have a more of a number, because that's a substantial amount and not really narrowed in as much, because we could be looking at different staffing.
Pat, want to make a comment?
Just so council knows, agendas 99.9% of the change on the website. Occasionally you'll end up stuff for us, but on the changes in posting agendas for us, so it is an owner's job.
Yeah.
So, just so, yeah, so what my report comes out every couple of weeks, probably takes a bit of time, and then all of staff are probably want some changes on the website. They go to Jennifer, correct? And are they good things they're trying to do? I'm sure they are, but well, that could be a lot, couldn't it? Mary Catherine?
I just want to thank you for introducing that for Fora. We're looking at communications and technology and modernization. Really, more than ever, we're all like that, but, yours is just working with what we found there, and at some point, time needs to be dedicated to say, can this be restructured to work better? That's what the problem is, I think, to you, but
I'm going by memory, but I think the whole system was restructured less than 5 years ago. Yeah, Mary Catherine, can you answer that?
yeah, I can actually speak to that, because on the library, and at the center, community center, when that did happen. And it was a summer student who got it as far as it did, and then when that student left, it sort of sat there in the limbo. And we didn't have anyone sit at that point to say, this is how to manage this system, so we had Jennifer take over that. So it's, it was updated, but I would say it got cut off partway through and didn't get fully.
Did you want to comment on that?
Definitely as far as user friendly, a lot more user friendly than the previous website. So as far as it is relatively. Fine. I would say that, I would know it's all actually great, so. They have introduced a work version. We have, you know,
Opportunity that we talked about this morning, perhaps. Mary Catherine?
just to further what I was saying, that I'm sort of referencing the choice of cage layout. They spend a lot of time saying you should be able to get everything in 3 clicks. We can't at this point, so. I think it was good as far as it got, and then it sort of just got left, and I'm glad it was bringing us forward.
Well, I'm glad that I'm not the only one that can't find something after.
Yes,
clicks.
yes.
I go 6, 7, or 8 and start pulling out my hair, it's called Pat and, and don't give me your name, or don't give me your number, Jennifer, because
You might want to lose it.
certainly, good things to, good conversation we're having about this. Obviously, it sounds like we can do some other things. But I see at the same time, Jennifer, what you've done with your area of promoting culture and getting people involved in yoga and all of that stuff, it's starting to show. And it's good stuff. So I want to thank you for all your efforts that you're putting towards it. And I'm sure council's willing to support if you need to do anything else. Mary Catherine?
I would like at this point to request that the drawing be pulled out and it be a full discussion. Rather than part of presentation.
Okay, I'll read the motion. Be resolved that the council of the township of Almaco will receive and file the Parks, Recreation and Culture update report, and will exclude the Brime issue and bring that back here in a few minutes. I can move her in a seconder for that. Moved by Mary Catherine, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Carry. Okay, the next one we'll discuss is the specific one regarding the Brian issue. I don't know. Do you want to start it off, Mary Catherine?
Well, I did get myself in a pickle this morning and rushed out the door and did not bring my 2 5-gallon pails, but 5-gallon pails in the height of the desk to the floor, those are big pails. And we thought, and none of us here want to sit in here in the discussion that we are facing today. None of us want to hear. And to
There's
your point this morning, there's our conversations we have to have. This is not something that we ignore when it's on that scale, 124 hours, 2 5-gallon.
Well, there's a little bit of misunderstanding or perhaps I read it wrong, but when I was down seeing the gentleman yesterday, Matt, the fellow that runs it down there, it's not leaking 10 gallons every 24 hours. It's leaking if the system is on. But if you read that real quickly, I thought he was meaning it every 24 hours, he was having to fill that up. So unless the system's on, it's not leaking anything at all. Is that correct? Greg?
Yeah, through you, your worship. I went to the arena this morning before our meeting and just had to ask him some questions because it would be a big concern that if the system's off and there's no pressure and you're leaking 10 gallons, that's a huge leak. And Rink Seal won't fix a broken in half pipe or anything. It's meant to fix like radiator leaks, like pinhole leaks and things like that, right? What talking to him today, what wasn't explained properly by Simcoe is when the system's on and it's under pressure, it was leaking 10 gallons. Now that the pump is off and everything, he showed me it's only dropped about an inch or so in 1 week. So, you know, maybe he's losing a half a gallon a day, or probably less than that, right? So it sort of changes the dynamics of this report now, because originally when I read it, it was like, wow, we have to do something right away.
Yeah, that's the impression I got.
Yeah. So it still does leak, but there's no pressure in the system. So it's leaking, you know, not, I would say probably not even 95% of what was originally told us, right?
Yeah, I got the impression, I seen it changed this much, and that was from when he shut it down in the 1st of April. So in 6 weeks, he's lost this much, and I think he said that was probably a couple gallons or something like that. So just so we all understand that. Mary Catherine, or pardon me, Deputy Mayor Slover?
I think this is, through your Mayor Lobo, this is too complex for us to make a decision at this time. I mean, what this is saying, and it's nice you gentlemen went down. We just, and then I'm reading through this and it's saying, what's not included in that price. So I mean, this really, I think we're at the tipping point here. I'm not prepared to deal with this today until I have a proper report in front of me. Because I don't see, like, I mean, we don't have the chat from the arena here that's dealing with it. I didn't go down to the arena. I guess I should have. But there's a lot here that that money does not pay. So 11,000, you think, well, that's not too bad, but then doesn't include this, it doesn't include that. Could we be up into blowing the whole floor out and it being excessive amounts of money? I don't have any of those answers. So I'm in a bit of a quandary. That's where
Right.
I'm at.
Through you, Mayor Lobo. I think we're at the time where we really have to have this discussion, like what Deputy Mayor Stover is saying. It's if we need to fix this properly, I don't want to put a Band-Aid on this, as we talked about this at budget time. And, you know, maybe it's time we really need to look at, are we going to rip that floor out and replace the piping and do it right? And get it ready for next year. It'll be a time-consuming thing. And I would say that we need to make a decision whether we're going to do that and start at it right away, instead of just this Band-Aid thing here.
Mayor Kaplan?
If we look back to our minutes that we passed at the beginning of this meeting from our budget discussion, we were asking for a 10-year feasibility study. With that, we need a needs assessment study. Is that what we need in Grafton at this time, or would we better serve our community by saying, okay, the arena has been amazing, we love the arena, it served us well for its 70 years. But it is time to build something new that is going to serve our community better, and we need to have that discussion. We can't kick that ball down court any further. And to your point, Councillor Ainsworth, I think in many ways we have to acknowledge that previous councils all decided not to rebuild on any major scale because they were not putting money aside for asset management for the future replacement or rebuilding of that. So it's pretty tricky to say all of a sudden we're magically going to create money this year to do it. We're not.
No, and to be perfectly honest with you, like when I talked to the gentleman down at the arena, he said that's a 6 months project. So the day that you take out the ice in April, it's the day you start tearing up that floor and tearing up the boards and replace it so that you can have ice time. And what he said was by Thanksgiving. Go ahead.
So there is a part of this fella's report here where he could bring in equipment to find out where the leak is. And you know, maybe we could just rip up that part and, you know, fix the broken tubes and re-cement it.
Okay.
But we got to fix that leak. So.
Yep.
I think the arena is important to this community. And it
well-
gives our kids a place to go, and, you know, the ball hockey, it's an area where, you know, Canada Day Parade's going to be there. It's a hub for this community. And I would say that we really need to think about at least getting it fixed so we can reopen it next year and
This year.
yes, for next year's skating. But
Mayor Kaplan?
I think we need to be realistic. That may well be a $5 million idea that you're throwing out there. We had an engineer's report back in 2014 that was giving us that number, so maybe it's closer to 10 million. I propose that we should do a needs assessment study. What if you're saying the arena is what we want for ice, but it's currently 50% of our recreation budget is being spent on the arena. If we put that money into other options for recreation, we may get much more return for our dollar than what we're getting by putting it into the arena. And quite frankly, young people aren't attracted to an old arena.
Mm,
What are they attracted to?
Well, that's the question we need to answer, isn't it, Nick?
And what are old people attracted to?
Multi-purpose facilities, from the research that we did on the ad hoc, it was that it's a building that has multiple options for usage within one building, so that different family members are potentially doing different things, same location, same time.
And you're willing to spend the $5 million to do that?
I'm not willing to spend $5 million on that arena. But,
Well, you're one vote.
and I, yeah. But that's why I think the needs assessment study is going to tell us what we need.
Do you think the survey that we're taking now will give us any information?
I don't, I mean, we are chickens, we're all chickens, none of us want to get yelled at, and none of us want to be the person who says, okay, we're gonna pull the light support on this, but in reality, our previous council have said that when they didn't put money into it, and the previous council directly to us, when they did those improvements in 2019, basically said, this is it. And, you know, they got further with their patch last time, but I don't think a patch is gonna.
Greg, you have a comment?
Yeah, I was going to comment, the three options that Simcoe gave us, some of them we have to be careful of. So the ripping out of the floor and everything like that won't happen this year. That's something Matt saying 6 months, realistically, you're more a year, because what happens in my previous position is when you're going to tear out the floor and get new boards and glass and everything like that, there's an RFP process that has to go out there. The boards alone for this is not a standard arena. It's all custom made. So somebody has to custom make all the aluminum framing and everything like that. So basically what people have done and what we've done in the past is this year we would be looking at putting out RFPs, getting prices, contract the company to build the boards for you and everything. So like you said, Mayor, next March, April, when the ice comes out, they go in there right away and they tear out the concrete and dig everything out and everything. They have to pour the floor, the concrete has to cure, all that, and you'll be lucky by October if your ice can go in. It's actually like a 3, 4, 5 month thing. So that option's not an option this year unless we're not having hockey, because there won't be hockey. And the danger of not having hockey is if the kids go to Coburg or Crammy or anywhere else, a lot of them aren't going to come back. Because if your kids are going to Coburg and they're playing in the league over there for a year, the chances of them wanting to come back to Grafton and join is going to be very slim. I would say 50% of them probably wouldn't bother coming back. So we really have two options. If aside from what Mary Catherine's saying, whether we decide to keep it or not, is either you do the rink seal, the danger of the other one, which is historically they pump nitrogen into the floor and they listen for the leaks. The problem with that is when you go around and you have to jackhammer the concrete to get to the leak, you cause vibration in the floor, and it could, if those pipes are 60 years old, you could pop other leaks everywhere else, right? So my view is the only way to get out of it, if you want to get out of it right now, is we try the rink seal, right? If you try the rink seal and it buys us a year, then we've got to decide what we're going to do. Or like you said, Mary Catherine, if council decides to bite the bullet and somebody's going to take the lead or whatever, and we decide to close it, then I know it was mentioned last council once at budget time, and there was not going to say the word, but there was a big storm that hit council, and you will get 30, 40 calls each about people wanting to close it and people wanting to keep it going. Yeah.
Mary Catherine?
I mean, there is going to be grief and sadness with that. That's the reality. There's going to be strong feelings. Anger is in fact part of grieving. But I think we can't frame it as the arena or not the arena, but what are we going to do to best serve the residents living here right now? And that's where the need assessment study needs to happen.
Who does a needs assessment study?
Well, I don't want to look at you, so it would probably end up that
You have to hire,
Down to
Consultant?
But it, yeah.
you have to get a consultant. How much are you gonna spend on that?
I have no idea, but. This is gonna cost money one way or another. Personally, but, you know, I stand to be convinced of anything with information, but. As I mentioned before, 50% of our recreation budget right now is put into the operation of that arena. That is, you know, 58% usage. And as Council Booth told us, you know, that floor, we know, none of us wants to be the person sitting there going, this floor had its day, but this floor had its day, and I don't see how putting in leach seal, and we can ask them to come and explain how that could possibly work when it turns on and 10 gallons is gone in a day. And I'm glad to hear we can have a little more while it turns on.
Mayor Lowell.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if this is a time to start compiling figures and going to the public in a public forum. Telling them exactly the state of the affairs down there, if they knew the numbers. The best case scenario. I have no idea how much new floor and piping and all that is. And if we had
Well, that's what we gotta figure
a
out.
public meeting. Giving the people the numbers. And that way, you know, if we are getting calls, we say, we're gonna have a public meeting. Everything will be explained. Maybe these Simcoe people would come to it. Answer questions, because I think that would alleviate some stresses on people. If they knew what we're facing, because out there, people, I got a call today. You're not fixing that, are you? Or is it not time for you to make a decision on the arena? And that was from a longstanding person that's used it. So I think we need to go to the public with the numbers, what we're facing. And that will open up the discussion.
Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor Noble. So, I mean, this whole arena is not junk. The floor needs fixed. And for the purpose of the arena, it's house league hockey. And the kids need a place to go and play hockey in the wintertime. And some of these kids aren't going to play all-star hockey, so they're never going to go to Coburg and play there. And if we could just fix again, and what Councillor Booth is saying, I think they could probably saw that cement out instead of jackhammering it out nowadays with the cement saws that they got. You know, I like the idea of bringing in the fellow to do the search for the X-ray for the leaks and find out where they are. And if we could cut that chunk out, replace the lines, replace the cement, and we're good. You know, the rest of that arena is in good shape. You walk in there, it's not mold and leaks everywhere. So it's a matter of fixing this leak in the floor. And giving the kids in this area a place to play hockey.
Here, Catherine?
I personally don't think it's a case of fixing a leak in the floor. I think it's acknowledging that. And asking, and to your point, I think you're almost where I would like to see us be. I want to see some of those prices. What would it look like to replace? What does it look like to rebuild? But I would also like to see what it would look like to have other options. Because hockey is not the only activity that young people will do, and basketball, my understanding, at least when we were on the ad hoc committee, that was the group that was looking for space. So there, you know, we can talk to Baltimore and their repurposing of their old arena there and learn from their experience. You know, I'm sure they have some good ideas, but I think that we shouldn't view it as
A death.
I mean, we should view it as an opportunity to
What?
do.
Well, a death of what was there, but rejuvenating it and rebirth into the next stage.
I disagree. I don't think you make it a death. I don't think we was.
No, but I mean, a loss, make it into what a different, like leave that part alone and move on to the next stage of something that would be used and utilized a little more.
Well, I'm hearing this morning, you're saying it's not used very much. We're spending half of our money there. When I look at some of our other facilities that are costing us an awful lot and we're not using them very much. And I don't think the arena is any one bit different than the rest of those community centers. Go ahead.
I think we have to be careful when we say the arena is closed too. It's not the arena's
No.
closed. The building's not closing. You're still
Yeah,
gonna
the
have your
ice
ball
is.
hockey, your summer stuff. It's the ice wouldn't be in there, right?
Mhm.
And I agree with what you're saying, Mr. Mayor. There's lots of other places too that if we start applying numbers to say, you know what, why are we spending this much money? And I'll just pick anything like a library or a branch or something. Why are we spending that type of money when we're not getting the usage? So
Good point. Mike?
Through your Mayor Lobo. And we're never gonna be able to afford with our budget, a new facility down there. Not in our lifetime. So we need to just think about reality and maybe wasting money on reports and stuff like that. Like, it just, to me, it doesn't seem like reality. We know that we have a leak in the floor, and doing studies and thinking we're gonna build something else to replace that is like not in our lifetime. Because we couldn't afford to pay for a $3 million shed at Public Works. We had to get a debenture for that. This is gonna be 10 million, maybe more. So it's just not gonna happen in our lifetime. So we have to think of reality and what we can do with this building to keep it going and to keep ice in there for the kids in the wintertime. And, option 2 on this thing here would be maybe our best option at this point.
Okay, I think that we should bring in our arena manager and get him to tell us a little bit because he has more experience than the rest of us knowing here, who knows the equipment
Exactly.
and knows what they're capable of doing and capable of not. So I would suggest that we ask him to come to our next meeting and get his ideas up and maybe have his boss come along.
And could we get a price on that number 2? Because 1 and 3,
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
Could he bring a price on the number 2 one? Because like say 1 or 3 probably just.
well, they can give you a starting price, what it is for them to come in, but it's like searching for a leak in your roof or in your car or something, right? I'll look at it for this, but to pump the nitrogen in, to walk around and listen to the leak, but depending on how many times I got to cut open the concrete and how long I stay there could be. And I guess I did want to say something about the deputy mayor's comment about the Simcoe thing. That is just a standard contract, Joan, that they always say that, right? Basically, what you're paying for is we have all the equipment there. It was installed last time. They basically filter the brine really well before, and then they pour this stuff in, and there's a chemical pot there, and it goes in, and then they leave the pump running. And what happens is then it coats all the things and everything. There will be no other cost. It'll be the $13,000 in. The only question is, will it stop the leak? Which is a crapshoot, right? You never know depending on how big the leak is.
In 2019, we did exactly that. You were on the council that approved that.
Yeah.
And it was miraculous, I guess. But I have no interest in doing this and throwing 13,000 into something that's leaking 2 5-gallon pails as soon as it's turned on. That's not a pinhole leak that's going to be solved by this. I agree fully that we want to have the people who are and know the experts. I would think that Simcoe needs to come in, but we've had a report already where we said we're not looking at new electrical in there. Like, we can't play both sides of the same coin. Either we're going to have an arena and we're going to figure out how to find the few $1 million, or we say it has, like, a Band-Aid is not going to fix it this time. I think bleeding's too much, and I also think it prevents us from doing what we should do, which is decide to do something that's really great for this community. Because even with our fingers crossed and 13,000 in there, we're not getting through this term of our council and not having the same discussion again.
I agree.
And through your
I
mayor,
think we should be spending the $15,000.
and through your mayor logo, let's not forget what we seen in the budget or the report that came through that was spent at the last minute at the arena, which was, what was it, 13,000 or some darn thing? What was that for? I can't even remember at the moment.
Electric motor for the compressor.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't a leak in the floor, but I don't even know how much a new floor and piping and all that costs. Like, what are we talking there?
We're talking probably millions or millions. Huh?
Hmm.
Well, no, that includes electricity too, is what I was told.
Mm.
Doing the electrical repairs too. Then you'll have to do that. Oh, I was gonna say you'll have to do that.
You'd be closer to, we had judged it that it was like 1.5 or 1.6. So in an old
Two.
floor like that, I'd say contingency fund, you'd be looking at $2 million. Because when you open up that floor that's 60 years old, who knows what's under there, right?
Especially with the leak. I know, I mentioned that to you before. You said it was salt.
Well, it's salt water, Brian. So at
Yeah,
least it's
so
not
it's
glycol, which would be
nasty
worse,
stuff.
right?
So we're gonna sit here all afternoon. I say we get the.
Well, just one comment, and I know what you said, Mary Catherine, and it's deja vu, because back in 2019, the council of the day was the same thing. What are we doing? This arena is never going to break down in a convenient time for any of us, whether it's in the summer, winter, or whatever. So we do eventually have to decide what we're doing. Are we going to put money into it and are we going to fix it? Or are we giving up on it? Because otherwise, and I see everybody wants studies and this and that and everything. Well, guess what? Look at how long it takes you to do studies and have meetings and everything. And then at the end of the day, it's going to come down to council of how they want to vote, whether or not 100 people phone you or 10 people call you or whatever. We have to make that decision. And a tough decision it is, but you can have Simcoe come in and the manager come in and tell you everything else, and you're still gonna have to decide, right, what we do.
I like to make an informed decision.
Sorry, so I was just gonna say, we talked about it back in December when we were doing our strategic overview. That would be neat to have a meeting down and go over the master plan. This council has not done that yet, but the previous council has done it. So I don't know if you want to.
You said the previous did or did not?
Previous council did,
Okay.
this council has not. So I don't know if this council wants to, as part of this process, review the master plan and vote.
You can do that. Mary Catherine?
I just to build on what you said, I agree, and I was very active in with the, I attended all the meetings and everything there, but to say that council adopted it, well, it's not truly adopting it if you don't put any money there. And there has not been any money put there, so I think it's a little bit disingenuous to say that was adopted. I agree, there was no, options that were presented. So I think we still have that point, right? The point is we're still at that stage, right? And also I know that I brought forward to caution for when grants are available. nothing happens, I can see it, right, so right now we are looking at really discussion, although it's not. But, you know, it's,
Yes. And when do we have to make that decision? You want us to comment? on that?
Well, I'd say to be reasonable, you're probably gonna have to make it before August. Because they're gonna have to order it, bring it in, pouring it in is nothing, like that's a 1 day thing, but. Getting Simcoe to buy it and everything like that, so it's not something where we have 6 months to, you gotta decide by the end of July into August whether or not. We're gonna have a season, right? For ice,
No, I'd say you gotta do it at least that.
that's bare minimum, right? I mean,
I still think we should have the manager of the arena come and make a presentation.
Oh, I know we have talked a lot through you to Jennifer. We have talked a lot about hockey. And I'm just wondering, do you have any idea how many hockey leagues are running out of that? Because I did hear that they were scrambling to get some leagues going and a lot of leagues didn't go this past year. So maybe that's another little report we could have from minor hockey to see what minor hockey looked like last year.
well, the thing is, I think I had it there before. How many the arena, I would say my confidence is less longer of that, so there's far more adult leagues there, as well. Football, this is the thing, and we're more, like I say, you know, everybody talks about this year, and it's a lot of extra ice for other leagues too, so I was probably got this, probably had a lot of this. County that. Here, and then a lot of adult leagues.
And in fact, when I was listening to this gentleman yesterday, Matt, he was saying that the uniqueness of the Grafton ice is because it's small and it really fits in for kids, older people. He's mentioned the new broomball league starting up next year. And that's what he's saying, so
And that's information that will be good for us.
that's why I'm saying. he's
Yeah,
probably
for sure.
a good candidate to bring to the meeting. So we're gonna make it easier to do that.
I was going to say, I think we need to talk about.
So when I put down earlier, and seeing. And we're back to what I'm on the watch.
And can we have them, we got a opening on this next council meeting and we'll see if there would you bring to the planning meeting or we're gonna have to meet with them.
But we now have two allegations about it. It is because of the other activities that are going on there, there's not a lot of. So, like we. Then
Oh, yeah.
you might want
Can
to.
you do it at the planning meeting? Okay,
Should I move any meeting or the June 6th?
we should try and do it as soon as possible because they could have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So are you seconding it?
I will, but can we just add on there, can he just get us an up-to-date ballpark figure on option one? We keep passing around this number that it was 1.5, 1.7, whatever. From what I've heard from a lot of companies in the last few years, things have gone up dramatically, right? So I think he can make a call to Simcoe and Simcoe would give you a ballpark figure, and same as somebody that installs board and glass. They'll be able to give you a ballpark figure so that we're not way off. If we're saying 2 and it's 6 now or something, that's gonna affect everybody's vote, right?
So you second it, Greg?
Yeah, a second.
Further discussion? Your job?
Just that simple, I'm reading what they've written here. Again, slow the lease and possible temporary thing. I'm not sure that sounds very reassuring to me. So, you know, when they use the word possible, what are you implying there?
Well, to be honest with you, they're not guaranteeing anything, right?
Well, they're not guaranteeing anything, but do they think it's? I mean, I think of the Dan Needle book where it said the neighbors, about the banker who moved out into the country and the neighbors kept saying, you could do that. And eventually he realized that when they said that, they really meant only an idiot would do that, but.
See, originally, if I can, Mr. Mayor, originally, when they talked about 10 gallons a day, it was like, wow, that's a huge leak. But that's understandable if the system's under pressure. Now that it's not under pressure, it's leaking just a little bit. That's not as a big a concern to me now, because more than likely, the rink seal will buy you another year or 2 years or whatever at the most.
Same argument then?
Well, no, I'm just saying that, and I told you, it's deja vu. The last council was the same thing, and we got bogged down with, we need reports, we need this, we need that, and it goes off the rails, and the ice goes in September and everything's good, and it sort of gets forgotten about until this comes up again, and one of these days, it's not gonna be repairable, right? And
Yeah.
and that could be now, I don't know.
Could be
but-
now.
All in favor? Very good. Thank you, Jennifer. Let's move on to Nicole. Are you there, Nicole? Yes, I see you.
Yes, I am.
Okay, we'll start off with the treasury report 11-1, report from Nicole Leach Binham, treasurer, dated May 2nd, 2023, regarding a budget update. Go ahead, Nicole.
Through you, Mayor, to council, I really don't have a whole lot more to add to this. I think I've detailed what has happened here. I guess if council have specific questions, I could answer those.
Thank you. I'll read the motion. Be it resolved, the council of the township of Allen McCalderman approve the transaction made by the treasurer to balance the budget by drawing $39,250 from the Public Works Reserve, and further that the council of the township of Allen McCalderman receive and file the 2023 budget update report. Mover and seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any for discussion? All in favor? Carried. Next one is a report from Nicole Leach, treasurer, dated May 2nd, 2023, regarding the 2023 tax rate bylaw number 46, 2023. Nicole, go ahead.
Absolutely. So you will see, I think we landed a little higher as far as where the tax rate ended up as projected on, I think it was my February 23rd budget report. And that is due to the final county rate. So we had estimated it at around 5.9, and it came in just over a 6% rate increase. So we did land at a 5.52 increase in the local tax rate, so the municipal portion, and then including the county and education rates at 5.1. So that's what the taxpayer at the end of the day will see as a 5.1% increase on their tax assessment.
Thank you. Be it resolved, the council of the township of Allen McCalderman acknowledge approval of the 2023 final budget and tax levy of $7,426,580 presented to council on February 23, 2023, and further that the bylaw 2023 be passed to provide for the above levy and payment of taxes and adopt the 2023 tax rate. And further that the 2023 tax rate bylaw 46, 2023 report be received and filed. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Next one is report from Nicole, treasurer dated May 2nd, 2023 regarding the 2023 annual repayment limit. Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, so the only thing I wanted to mention on here is that the current debt charges that are calculated by MMAH are not truly what we're at currently. So currently, just so that you are aware, now with the Public Works building, we're looking at a total annual payments of $319,863 a year. We're still well under the 1.8 million limit.
Okay. And just a quick call. I don't think we ever want to get to that limit. But I do understand what you're saying. I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Alderman McCullough acknowledge receipt of the 2023 annual limit report from the treasurer dated May 2nd, 2023, and filed it for future reference. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. I guess my thought or question on that, this covers all of the expense for the fire hall in Rosemead, as well as the Public Works building.
Yeah, that's correct. So that's including the two debentures that we have in place. The one I think is we pay biannually at about 69,000, I think, a year. And the other one is the Public Works, which we are paying just over $15,000 a month. So it does work out to just under $320,000 annually.
I don't really have other comments, although Pat did tell me that this is the first time she's ever been in a municipality that actually had taken a debenture ever. And this is the first debenture that the township has ever taken. It was for the
Fire hall.
So, but at the same time, I gotta tell you that the province recommends that you borrow as much as you can because the interest rates are low, but but I'm not that type of person. I like to pay what I, pay for what I got in my pocket, and that's it.
I think that through your Mayor Local, they did, when they built the Centerton Library, they had a loan as well. I'm not sure how they handled that, if it was a debenture or.
I think it was a loan, but go ahead.
Or it was a 10-year investment.
Mm.
It is interesting, look at the difference on the interest paid when you extend it over a longer time period. You clearly pay a lot more interest.
There was the other one too. I mentioned that Shelter Valley Road was done on a debenture.
Oh,
too.
yes, it was. Yes, it was.
But that's when we had no money. Very little money at all. Okay, I've got a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Carried. Next one's a report from Nicole again regarding the development charges bylaw update 472023. You want to take us through that, Nicole? Is there anything that we need to know?
I think the one thing that I just want to remind council that due to the changes to the Development Charges Act, that the rates that we landed on, the 14,030.30 for the residential and the $54.47 per meter squared on the commercial or non-residential, those will be phased in over the 5 years. And I did note that in my report, but I think Jennifer Current had noted at the meeting that you will find that I believe the first year with doing that phase in will actually bring the rates lower than what they currently are. So just noting that to council.
Thank you. I'll read the resolution and then we'll see if anybody has any further comments. Be resolved, the Council of Township of Almac Alderman approved of development charge bylaw as prepared by Clark Consulting, and further that the treasurer's report dated May 2nd, 2023 regarding the development charge bylaw 47203 be received and filed. Mover and a seconder, moved by Councilor O'Neill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stolberg. Further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Next we have, yes,
Right. I'd like to ask a question for our treasurer, please.
go ahead.
Just our quarterly variance, what's the quarterly budget update and the variances? I know you were away, so, but can we be expecting that at some point soon?
My plan through you, Mayor, is to have that to you for the next council meeting.
Thank you very much.
And
You're
can you just clarify that? Is that the May one or the June one?
That would be your quarterly, January to March.
Yes, but I'm wondering, our next meeting is May the 16th,
Correct,
so that's the one you're gonna have it for.
correct.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to administration. Report from Pat Kemp, clerk, dated May 2nd, 2023, regarding the Rose Neath Agricultural Society. Pat, you want to take us through?
I think it's pretty straightforward. If
I
I
think it-
don't have any questions on it, I just wanted to make you aware that we did meet with the Road Neath Agricultural Society. We did come to an agreement that the township would take care of the relocation of the hydro, and the Road Neath Agricultural Society put it in writing that they will take care of the grass cutting.
Okay. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by Councilor Booth. I guess I just have one comment with that. I'm not sure how long it took the crew to cut the Rose Neath Fairgrounds, but that should be some labor opportunities for whatever,
4 hours on Friday. They used to do it
4 hours and
4 to 5 hours. Yeah, so that should free them up.
for 2 or 3, is that 2 or 3 people too?
That was the whole crew, which I think was John and either 2 kids or 3 students. I don't know what their students were last year, but
I'm sure we'll find something to do. Better. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Next. we have-
actually, your worship, that might be something we should ask. Brain freeze.
Brian, Matt,
Matt, when he comes here, we can ask him maybe if that's possible, Pat, the 4 or 5 hours that they're saving, what they're looking at getting done or something like that with that extra time or something, since he's here anyway.
good point. Committee reports. First one we have is the Recreational Culture and Community Development Advisory Committee of February 27th. And the Gaddon and Raska Regional Conservation Authority minutes of April 20th. Be resolved that the Recreation, Culture and Community Development Advisory Committee minutes of February 27, 2023, and the Ganaraska Regional Conservation Authority minutes of April 20th, 2023 be received and filed. Mover and a seconder. Councilor Booth, and seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor.
Through your worship, just to the 2 representatives on the Trent and the Ganaraska thing to, don't forget to ask the question now that 13 different acts that they can't give us any professional opinion on or anything like that. Does that mean in the end, we get a reduction in what we pay, or just a thought, that's all.
I through your local, I asked that question. And they were saying that it's only a small part of what they do, and so there would not be a reduction.
So hopefully there's not an increase then.
Yes.
Councilor Ainsworth, do you have a comment too?
Through you, Mayor Lobo, no, what I'll do is just phone and I'll put it on the agenda for our next Lower Trent meeting.
Thank you. Are we gonna move in a second or not? Okay, all in favor? Carrie, do you have another question?
Just an observation, these reports come out and, I did have a resident ask me a question about shoreline and I said, I don't know the answer, but there was this interesting report from Gather Africa. This was last month and I sent that on to her and she sent that back. Oh, thank you. That was very interesting to read. So, they are very informative and, you know, the erosion and those types of things.
Good idea. If you give them that information, they're usually happy with it. Communications, correspondence from the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation Impact dated April 12th regarding the new online school support portal. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Allen Cullivan receive and file the correspondence from Impact regarding the new online school support portal. With Impact 2023 school support direct. I don't need to read all that. School support, we don't have to read all that. So I gotta move in a second for that, please. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we have correspondence from Canada Post regarding delayed delivery of municipal tax notices to property owners in Township of Allen Cullivan. We have the AMO communications dated April 13th and April 20th and April 27th. We have Alderville First Nation dated April 11th. Information regarding the third party with interest in Alderville First Nation, the Township of Hamilton, dated April 12th regarding the joint media release, dog licensing goes viral. For 2023, we have the Rural Ontario Municipal Association dated April 13th, 2023 regarding focus on rural access to services. We have the AMCTO Legislative Express dated April 27th, 2023 regarding the spring legislative and policy updates. We have the Impact dated April 27th, 2023 regarding the 2022 annual report, financial statements and performance report. And finally, the Ministry of Infrastructure dated April 27th, 2023. Ontario launches new interactive high-speed internet map. Would anyone like any of those polls in particular? Go ahead.
Just one question on it, maybe Pat can answer. There was a question on Facebook about the virtual dog license. And some people were saying, can they still come into the town office and pay, or now is it through the Humane Society? So it has to be either at their office or online.
The only way that they could do it here is that all of them.
Okay, so no more in the town office for a dog license. Okay, thank you.
But our staff have helped people, I believe.
Yeah.
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 Done.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor Lobo, I just wonder if we have a contact with that, the dog tags, so we can maybe see if they want to put up a table at the Canada Day.
Go ahead, Pat.
So we did talk to the Humane Society, it's been that we're looking at that, and they are aware that we want that, but I'll follow up.
Perfect, thank you.
Mayor Catherine?
I actually have two questions. One, those letters weren't delivered. We paid for them to be delivered, so are we going to get a refund? And have they recovered any of those missing tax bills? And unfortunately, I had two more people approach me this week and they were also talking about their parents. And only one of them was multiple. The other two instances, they were individuals who have a single tax bill and didn't receive them. So there are clearly people out there that we don't know about yet. And then my other comment was that I think we should send a note of congratulations to all of them.
Regarding the
they're both in the
Okay,
self-government.
well, we can do that. Probably a good thing to send a letter even.
A letter or a card saying congratulations, something acknowledging it. Because I
That's
do
a good
think
plan.
for
Yes,
their
it's good,
sake,
good
it's a
point.
wonderful thing, but
So Pat, can you arrange to have something prepared? Thank you. Okay, I gotta read all of them again. Be resolved that the following correspondence be received and filed. Canada Post dated March 22nd, 2023 regarding the delayed delivery of municipal tax notices to property owners. AMO Communications filed dated April 13th, April 20th, April 27th. Alderville First Nation dated April 11th regarding information to third parties with interest in Alderville First Nation. Township of Hamilton dated April 12th regarding joint media release dog licensing. Rural Ontario Municipal Association dated April 13th regarding Roma Insider focus on rural access to services. AMCTO Legislative Express dated April 27th, 2023 regarding spring legislation and policy updates. Impact dated April 27th, 2023 regarding an 2022 annual report, financial statements and performance report. And finally, the Minister of Infrastructure dated April 27th, 2023 regarding Ontario launches new interactive high-speed internet map. Did I get a move in a second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried.
are we going to ask him to post for any kind of other than, oops,
We can, I don't think they're going to give us anything unless we can tell them how much they owe us, and I don't think we can do that with any confidence, but I do think we should, I'm glad you brought it back up. I do think we should send them a letter regarding the Golden Beach issue and see if we can't, now that we have a contact anyways,
Yes,
we should send them a letter and see what they can do. And Pat, if you could help me with that, I'd appreciate it. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Moved by Deputy Mayor Silver and seconded by Councilor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion's carried. Bylaws, bylaw number 46, 2023, being a bylaw to provide for the levy and payment of taxes and the adoption of the tax rate for 2023. Be resolved that the bylaw number 46, 2023, being a bylaw to provide for the levy of and payment of taxes and the adoption of tax rates for 2023 be read and deemed to be passed this second day of May 2023. If I can move in a seconder. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by Councilor Booth. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Bylaw 47, 2023, being a bylaw to continue development charges under the Development Charges Act as amended. Be it resolved that the bylaw number 47, 2023, being bylaw to continue development charges under the Development Charges Act as amended, be read and deemed to be passed this second day of May 2023. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor O'Neill and seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? That's carried. Announcements and notices of motion. First, we have Councilor Ainsworth.
Yeah, to you, Mayor Lobo, just an update. We a few of us went to the fire marshals, the Ontario Fire Marshals annual.
Fire by FFAO.
Yeah. Their quarterly meeting that they held for the first time here in Alcoholman Township. So it was kind of interesting to hear all that. And good to know. And I did talk to one of the fellows on the board and Mark Nelson, that there's some funding out there for some things for the fire department as far as through that organization. So Mark was going to get that information. So hopefully they're maybe able to pick something up there with some stuff for our fire department. And then from there, we went to the meet and greet at the Vernonville Community Center. And had some treats there and met a lot of people, actually, probably by the time I was there in and out, 20, 25 people there. So it was good.
Are you good at Crokinole?
Pardon me?
Are you any good at Crokinole?
Well, no. But an up and coming event from a fellow that I met there, and he's been wanting to do this for some time. And I kind of talked him into it, and I'll give him a hand to do it, actually. So we want to have an open mic there. So we're going to, he's going to rent the hall, and we're going to get some flyers out and get some musicians in there from throughout the area and have a nice sing song throughout the night.
Good for you.
Yeah. So you all better come. I'm going to get up and play the guitar and sing for you.
Well,
Appreciate that.
sure.
Anything else, Mike?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mary Catherine.
Just following up with Councillor Ainsworth, we also went to the school council meeting at Rosemead Centennial Public School. We were very well received. We were fortunate to be joined by Deb Ward, who is a member of the Recreation, Culture and Community Development Committee. She certainly talked it up. The principal was very receptive and eager to include information about the township as part of their community connection, part of their e-newsletter that's sent out every other week. And they are going to put the survey on there. So that was an excellent connection that we built there, and we'll continue moving forward on that. And then the Canada Day Steering Committee continues to move ahead and make progress. And we're pretty sure that we're going to go ahead with a Hamlet challenge. So this would be a new category that you could win by participating in the parade. So it sounds like we were talking to people at Vernonville, but maybe they'd be willing to think about doing that. And of course, up in Senate, we're going to be too rest of you, but anyway, that'll be fine. What you're going to do will be physical form, more people, but anyway. So, yeah. We will be contacting you. I think Joan has already agreed to help at the cake table and get some people. We put you guys in cooking food, so yes, it's coming together quite well. Anything else you wanted to add on the Canada Day? Sorry, yeah, we do have a little bit more to add on that. Spoke with Chief Mowat, and he is interested in putting a table in the art heritage section, so we'll continue to follow up with that too. As well, the Ag Society, informally, they've already been approached, and we will be approaching them formally through a letter, but they are looking at both a float and a table at the heritage section. The Heritage Committee obviously is going to put a table there, and they're going to have their book for sale. So, at least that heritage section in the arena is going already.
That sounds exciting.
We just a couple things, sorry, Mary Catherine, but we got some businesses helping us out with food and stuff, ice and once we finalize all that, we'll put our report together. And I wonder if everybody here could share the entry application on their Facebook page and social media for the floats.
Yeah, it's a good time to get them moved.
Yeah,
Because all of a
absolutely.
sudden it's too
Yeah.
late. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Good.
Anything else, Mary Catherine? I've got 3 things probably. Oh, do I?
That's okay. I was just going to say, along with Mike and Joan and the other counselors and the mayor was lucky enough to attend the fire and the Vernonville thing. It was a busy, rainy Sunday. Thank you. That's all.
It was a perfect day to go around with all that business.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't do nothing outside anyways. St. Mary's School, their teacher, Mary Dillon, is looking for people to volunteer for the read. I think I said to you that with maybe you could approach the library, but other people could do that as well. They're looking, basically it's from my understanding, they like that people come and read to the kids between 3 and 3:30 for the month. Is it the month of May and June or the month of June? You remember that?
I can't remember now. I read it.
But they're looking for volunteers and did I send that to you too, Pat? Maybe we could fire that off to the rest of the council too, just to make sure, but I thought the library would be most interested in. National Public Works Week is May the 21st to the 27th, so we should put out a proclamation on that, Pat, if possible. And I just got a message from the Northumberland Central Chamber of Commerce. Their monthly meeting is going to be held Tuesday, June the 13th. And they'll be at Northumberland Heights.
Oh,
So if people would like to attend that, they'd be probably appreciate it. We belong to the Northumberland Central Chamber of Commerce, as you know.
yes, we do.
You do? Okay. I wasn't sure if we did or not, but anyways, that's good. Deputy Mayor Stover.
Thank you. What have I got here? I just wanted to mention the Grafton Green Thumbs plant sale, which is coming up the second Saturday in May. I should have that date in front of me. As well, there'll be the sign up sheet for the third annual sunflower contest. So I will have seeds available for all the counselors to and staff to have a contest among themselves. It was very informative, and I think the fire meeting, they were glad to see us. What else did I got here? Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned it before or not. But I won a basket or a box of goodies from the agricultural center the egg center that county has.
Yes.
Yeah, it has some really neat things on it. And I guess the only other thing was in Jennifer's report, and I didn't pull it out, but the Grafton Green Thumbs will be revamping the front of the MO wing, and it sounds really exciting. So I like to thank them for that. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
That reminds me of a couple of things. Joan, we were talking a while ago about the parkette there and putting the new bricks. Because people have been asking me for bricks.
Oh,
You say
that would
was-
be in, okay, I'll ask Bev, she's in charge of that, Bev Silk. Are there many people wanting bricks?
Well, a couple of people have come and asked me. If we
Oh,
could get
okay.
them, so I'm sure that there would be a lot of people that would want it because it hasn't been there done for, I don't know, 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
A lot of people put their, when their parents pass away or something like that. They want to put their name on that. Anything else?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take a recess. And should we go back in, when we come back, we'll go into closed, or can we go into closed now and then? Why don't we, so people know that the meeting is basically over, why don't we announce that we're going into closed, then we'll take a 10-minute recess. And we'll start back at 3:15. I need a motion to end this meeting. Or, go into closed, okay. I need a motion to go into closed. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry, but I got it anyway.
All right.
All in favor? Gary,
We look alike.
thank you. In fact, you're gonna ask, are we closed everything out? Are we closed?
There.
Okay, I got a motion to reconvene to regular council. Moved by Mary Coffin. Second by, Councilor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Next, we have the confirming bylaw. Need a mover and second for that, by Councilor Booth, second by Councilor O'Neill, all in favor? Thank you. Motion to adjourn at 5:02. Mover and seconder, moved by Councilor O'Neill, second by Councilor Reed, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.